Okay, Iraq, Saddam Hussein, in his better days, this was not one of his better days, that was near the end of the line. In his better days, he got a reactor from the French. By the way, you hear the French over and over. The French were out peddling their nuclear technologies all over the world. They hadn't signed the non-proliferation treaty yet, and they were selling this stuff. So they got a reactor from the French. The Israelis decided that was too close for comfort, and they bombed it and destroyed it. 1981, the Osirak reactor. Then they said, okay, well, we can't go the uranium route, we can't go the plutonium route, we'll go the uranium route. And so they also used a different technique called the electromagnetic separation technique, and they got that technology from Europe, shopped around in Europe, but then Saddam made this fatal mistake of invading Kuwait. US came in, IAEA came in, and essentially that nuclear program was shut down in the 1990s, in spite of the fact that Bush administration still felt there was something there in 2003. For the case of Libya, Gaddafi first helped to sponsor, that is financially, the Pakistani program, and then he went on to say that he's going to build his own bomb. He went the centrifuge technique, and what he did was then take A.Q. Khan, who was very happy helping Pakistan develop centrifuge capability. Then he went and started selling it all over the world. So he was selling it to Libya, to Gaddafi. He used an incredible global network from Malaysia to South Africa to Dubai to Switzerland to Germany. And in the end, he never got close. He gave it up voluntarily because in essence he was found out, but he also wanted to change his relationship with the world, paid a lot of money, never got close. Syria, one of the strangest cases of all. And this is something that went on for years without even the Israeli intelligence agencies knowing it. And that is they built this concrete box here. And it was built by the North Koreans. The North Koreans duplicated their reactor in Syria to build a plutonium-producing reactor. It had no other use. No electrical lines out of there, no turbines, nothing. It was to make plutonium. We still don't understand exactly why, but the North Koreans built it. We don't think he had a reprocessing facility. The Israelis destroyed it in 2007. Okay, so those are the cases. I just wanted you to understand as you think about Iran then. You know, Iran isn't the first that's gone in one direction or the other. All these other countries use the mechanisms, you know, of taking a civilian cover, going in enrichment, or going towards research reactors or electricity production, but building the capacity for the bomb. Okay, now we get to Iran, as I'll have to go through this in a very few minutes to make sure to at least leave a few minutes for your discussions. So here's the Iran story for the bomb. It was the US that helped them. It was the US that trained them. It was the US that put the first research reactor, the Tehran research reactor, into Iran. The Shah had big plans, including at one time playing with nuclear weapons. I'm sure Professor Milani discussed that. Ayatollahs initially abandoned, and then they went shopping to develop a nuclear uranium enrichment program. They played cat and mouse with the international community for 10 years, and then Rouhani was elected and shows a different type of flexibility. So what you'll need to know, and these will all be posted, you know, to give you the technical background. So they have the research reactor. We supplied it. It's on its last legs. The Russians finished a reactor, a light water reactor. Not particularly worried about that. I mean, it does make plutonium, but not very good plutonium. Russians bring in the fuel. Russians take back out the spent fuel. So that's okay. But they clandestinely developed enrichment capabilities until they were found out. Then the IAEA inspected them. And they have sort of the other capabilities, the ones in red, are the ones that we're worried about. And then they decided they're going to replace the Tehran research reactor, but this time with a heavy water reactor in Iraq. They built a heavy water plant. They went ahead and started building that reactor. And at various times, it was sort of 1 year away from operation. And the reason we worry about that, it makes good plutonium. It's not, by far, not a good design for making medical isotopes or for research. It's good for making plutonium. That's why we're concerned. Then I told you, you have to do sort of cold tests. with simulant materials. Well, we have indication that just like the North Koreans did those in the 80s, the Iranians have done that in the 1990s. And they will not allow the IAEA inspectors there. And then missile programs, they have a really vigorous missile program. Let's see, that's a little too complicated for this point, but let me just say, you can look at this on your own. All starts with natural uranium. If you want to make plutonium, you go this way, heavy water, gas graphite. That's where the Iranians are. Heavy water, that's what we worry about. Enrichment, if you're doing it legitimately, you come out here, you enrich to 3 to 4%, and you make electricity. Or you can go to research reactors, 19.75%, or you can go on for bomb grade. That's what we worry about. That's the Iranian situation. They have legitimate ways to go, but technically it's there. The other thing that's important is you think about 3 to 5% or 20%, you're essentially almost all the way there in terms of the amount of work that it takes. So out here you have weapons grade. At 4 to 5%, you're already at 60-some% of the amount of work. At the reactor fuel, you're at like 90% of the work. That's why the Americans are concerned. If they hold around this reactor fuel, it doesn't take much more to have it go. So how far did the Iranians get? Well, they've now demonstrated they can enrich uranium. And in the end, they're only weeks to months away from making highly enriched uranium if they decide to break out. This stuff here, the weaponization, at least most of us believe they did this type of work and these experiments and were ready by 2003. And they do not allow IAEA to inspect the suspect sites. Delivery, they're working like crazy on a missile program. So the way I've said it for years, they've built the option that if they wanted to go, that they could build the bomb. So they have the option. So today, the situation is, in your simulation, they reached a deal. Minister Zarif, Secretary Kerry, as you know of the famous phone call. In essence, what they'll wind up doing with this interim deal is sort of freeze the program. So what happens now? It's in your hands. I hope you come up with the right solution after next week. So I've got 3-4 minutes for discussions. Let me ask.